What's going on, YouTube? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on which time zone you're currently watching me in right now. If you don't know me, my name is Ryan. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And if you do know me, welcome back. And if you haven't already, please feel free to hit that subscribe and that like button for me. It does help me and it does help the channel immensely. Now, today we're talking about a topic that is all too common in a dating world, which is being ghosted as well as being rejected. This is something that almost everyone has experienced in the dating world, but can also be tough to really deal with on your own. Which is why today I got a lot of tips to help you through ghosting and help you feeling rejected because of the situation. So first things first, what is ghosting? Ghosting is a term that is used in the dating world where you're in a relationship with somebody and all of a sudden they just disappear as if they were a ghost. They stop texting, they stop calling, they start reaching out, and you're left to feel confused, hurt, upset, and wondering what happened and why it happened because there's no explanation to anything. Of course, there are a few reasons as to why people choose to just ghost instead of give you the closure you might need after a relationship has ended. And a few reasons could be simply because they don't want to have to deal with confrontation, they don't want to have to explain themselves, or it sounds bad at the fact that they might have misled you knowing that they might not have wanted a relationship. There's a possibility they could have had somebody else on the side. There's a number of reasons as to why an individual might choose to ghost. And it says more about their character, of course, than it does yours, but that doesn't mean that the pain is going to hurt any less on your end. So let's hop into the tips on how we can kind of work through that, the feeling and the emotions you might have after being ghosted. Step number one, do not take it personally. This is not your fault. It is not your fault that you chose to be in a relationship or in a predicament with an individual who wasn't willing to communicate their wants and their needs. It is not a reflection of you, it is a reflection of them. Remember that you deserve somebody who's going to be willing to communicate, even if that means communicating that they're no longer wanting to be in a relationship with you or to be involved with you. Step number two, simply give yourself closure. Unfortunately, not every relationship ends in a predicament where you're able to receive the closure that you might feel like you need. And what that closure is literally dissecting why things happen the way they did. So why isn't this person attracted to you anymore? Or why don't they want the relationship? Or why are they choosing to move on? Unfortunately, you don't get that closure, especially when someone just chooses to ghost you and walk away. Therefore, you have to provide that for yourself and to yourself. And that can come in forms of journaling or seeing a counselor or a therapist or whatever you feel like you need in order to process the situation, evaluate it, and be able to move forward and move on, whether if that's in another relationship or simply moving on by yourself and for yourself. Tip number three requires you to protect yourself. And what I mean by protecting yourself is a lot of times the ghoster or the person who ghosted you tends to want to come back all of a sudden. For some odd reason, they all of a sudden miss you and they love you, or they try to reach back out to see how you're doing. Whatever the case is, they want to reach back out. And you have to acknowledge what they did, why they did the things that they did, and recognize if it's even worth giving them the time and the effort and reopening that door. The reason I say this is because if they were willing to walk away without communication the first time around, what makes you think that things are going to be different the second time around? Now, I know there are going to be parts of you that wants to understand where they're coming from and wants to understand why things happen the way they did because you're trying to get your closure from them so that way you have a better understanding so that you can move on. But this is why I said in tip number two that you have to provide yourself that closure instead of looking for it within that person who is lacking the communication and is showing because they choose to ghost or they chose to ghost rather than be honest and upfront with you about why is it that they didn't want the relationship the way that you assumed or thought they might have. Now let's move on and talk about rejection. And rejection comes in different forms, rather if it's somebody being direct and saying, hey, I do not want to be with you, or if it's more so subtle and indirect saying like, hey, I think we're just better as friends. That does not mean that you're not desirable. This is just part of dating. You're not going to be for everybody. You're not everybody's preference. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean you're dumb. It doesn't mean you're ugly. It doesn't mean you're less than. It just means that this person doesn't want to be with you for whatever reasons, and it's okay. And keep in mind that just because I said it's okay doesn't mean that it's going to hurt any less or you're going to feel any different, which is why I'm going to provide you tips on how to get past and how to get over and how to get through rejection. So here we go. Tip number one. Do not take rejection as a personal failure. As I stated before, you're not stupid, you're not dumb, you're not ugly. It just means that this person might not be for you. You shift your perspective and understand that you're not for everybody and everybody's not going to be for you. Therefore, that leaves the door open for somebody who is for you, somebody who does want to love you, somebody who does want to reciprocate the love and the care and the energy that you give out into the atmosphere. They want to reciprocate that tenfold because you deserve it and they deserve it. So don't look at rejection as a personal failure. Simply look at it as that door is closing and another one is opening. Tip number 2, be nice to yourself. Understand that it is okay not to be okay. It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to have all these big feelings and all these big emotions. Do activities that make you happy. Do activities that bring you peace. But also understand that you are human. And it's okay to feel. It's okay for situations like being ghosted and being rejected to hurt you. You are normal. You are a human. Allow yourself to feel and allow yourself to be. It is okay. Lastly, use rejection as a learning lesson. What I mean by that is identify what happened in the situation, what worked and what didn't work. Maybe you need to improve on your communication, or maybe you need to be more clear about your expectations or your boundaries or your wants and your needs. But use it as a learning lesson. Don't sit there and dwell on it. Don't get depressed over it. Don't get upset at it. Say, well, I should have did this and I should have did that. This is where the learning lesson comes in. So the things that you should have done, you can implement that in the next situation, the next relationship, or the next time you meet somebody, you can implement those things that you should have, would have, could have done going forward, because this is the part where you grow. This is the part where you learn, and this is the part where you heal. So don't look at rejection necessarily as always a bad thing. Look at it as a tool for you to learn and get better and to grow. Just keep in mind that if you continue to date, it's going to be a journey. You're going to have experiences. They're going to be good ones. They're going to be bad ones. You're going to meet good people. You're going to meet bad people. It's not always a reflection of you. It is not always your fault. And every time you have a negative experience, learn from it so you can have more positive ones. Learn how to grow, learn how to heal, acknowledge when you need time to yourself, acknowledge when you need to allow yourself to feel these big feelings and emotions, even acknowledge when you might need help. And that help, once again, might come in the form of counseling or therapy or journaling or talking to a friend or talking to a family member. It doesn't matter. Acknowledge that you want to be happy and you want to be at peace and you want to be loved. The biggest thing that I want you to remember is that you are not alone, and you do have the strength to continue to push forward and find a partner who appreciates you, who values you, and who respects you. But someone who ghosts you and who rejects you, they don't feel that way, nor will they ever feel that way. So don't continue to give them the time of the day, because your time is precious. So if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you all enjoyed the video. Leave a comment below, let me know what tips have worked, what tips that you're going to implement going forward. And if you have a request for a topic or a subject that you want to discuss, also leave that in the comment section as well. I appreciate you all watching. I hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on which time zone you are watching me in. And see ya.